White Andrew cannot be here tonight to receive this honour. It gives me great pleasure to accept it on his behalf and that of my husband, T.S. Eliot.
So how many times do you think your husband was painted?
Quite a number of times, but I have no actual count of.
I suppose the portraits have all gone out all over the place.
True.
You've got a few portraits, haven't you, of him?
Yes. He obviously needed to have a happy marriage. It obviously was something, as though he couldn't die until he'd had it. Something he needed there. Not only as, I think, a compensation for a sense of failure over the first marriage, because deep in him there was a need for family life. Somehow there was a good deal of little boy in him that somehow had never been released, and it came out in this way, I think.
I think I was probably the first person to work for him after his marriage to Valerie. I was sitting in her seat, literally, looking out of the window onto Russell Square. To me, she was a presence. She was always well-dressed, and she always had her high-heeled shoes on, because that was part of her persona, I think, for him, was a sort of certain buxom glamour. She used to breeze into the office quite a lot. They'd go off to lunch together. I think he was very in love with Valerie and very indulgent with her too. I had the feeling that, well, I used to order flowers for her, and when she came in, he would look at her very warmly, very adoringly, really. I think he found her absolutely entrancing.
Oh, they certainly were demonstrative, yes. They didn't want to sit apart. I remember them dining here. I mean, they were jolly well next to each other. No question. It was the first time in his life that he'd had domesticity in which he was looked after by his wife. His first wife never looked after him. And then he was always from pillar to post, just staying with people. He never had a home of his own until he was married, second time.
Really, ideally, should have had about 10 children. And he was suited in every way. He was interested in small details, interested in the home, and nothing was too small.
Valerie had only one interest in life, and that was Tom's well-being. After their honeymoon, they came to dinner here, and she explained to me how she wanted to build up his health. And people didn't realize then how extremely precarious it was. I mean, that he was in hospital for weeks at a time. And it was Valerie's, as it were, determination to give him the heart to go on fighting. She really kept him alive. There's absolutely no doubt.
Eliot's marriage was only marred by his increasingly failing health. In the winter of 1964, he was in and out of hospital and had to have oxygen in the flat. Eliot died at home in Kensington on the 4th of January 1965. The following day, Faber and Faber had a series of photographs taken of his empty office.
Home is where one starts from. As we grow older, the world becomes stranger, the pattern more complicated of dead and living. Not the intense moment, isolated with no before and after, but a lifetime burning in every moment, and not the lifetime of one man only, but of old stones that cannot be deciphered. There is a time for the evening under starlight, a time for the evening under lamplight, the evening with the photograph album. Love is most nearly itself when here and now cease to matter. Old men ought to be explorers. Here and there does not matter. We must be still and still moving into another intensity for a further union, a deeper communion. Through the dark, cold, and the empty desolation, the wave cry, the wind cry, the vast waters of the petrel and the porpoise. In my end is my beginning.
To see why Alan Yentob finds T.S. Eliot so inspiring, take a look at the BBC Poetry Season website. A taster of that coming up now.